Yeah, so what's your thoughts with regards to that then behind hypnosis and the fears behind it, the fears behind hypnosis?
Mm. Well, I start. It's the biggest challenge that we've got as hypnotherapists is to overcome the fear because, in my experience, the only thing that ever stops somebody from going into hypnosis is fear.
Mm, yeah.
So, I've heard people say, "I can't be hypnotized."
Mm,
Yeah, and I find that difficult to believe only because, in my experience, I believe everybody can be hypnotized to some degree as long as they're not scared. And
mm,
so, lots of people, I'll hear them say that, and they're like, it's exaggerated. I can't be hypnotized. Nobody can do it. There's this big fear beneath it. So that always, for me, it's something that needs to be addressed right at the beginning with a question of, do you have any concerns about going into
mm.
hypnosis? And rather than them saying, sometimes I'll get people and they'll say, no, but the head's doing something else, and the eyes are like, woo. Let's say, well, if you did have a concern, what might that be? Instead of help them with it. You've got to help them because people don't always want to talk about the fears. So yeah, I think there's
Mm.
this element of um, you must get that sorted
Mm,
within the early contract with that person.
yeah.
What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree for sure. It's only something that you can get in the way of yourself, and the only thing that will stop that is fear. And I've had this talk with Ian about like stage hypnotherapy and the sort of image that people have in their mind of what hypnosis is, and it usually comes back to stage hypnosis, and they're scared that they're not going to be in control, which
Sure.
is the complete opposite.
Mm,
So yeah, and I think you're 100% right. It's only a fear, but I think everyone can go into hypnosis because we all do it all the time. We just don't realize. Yeah, it's
yeah.
just that fear of control and that fear of going deep, going to places that are unknown, and that yeah, people run away from. I think.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
Mm.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Very true. Totally agree. And like on some level, we go into hypnosis every single day anyway. Like multiple times a day, we go into hypnosis without even realizing it. Like we discuss in the regressions and the teaching work that you do, Gordon. You actually explain that we go into it every day without realizing. And also on a night time when we're going to sleep is a form of hypnosis because you're going into that nice relaxed state of mind where you're going into dream state or whatever brainwave it might be. You're going into some level of healing. Some level of healing is taking place. The difference I find with hypnosis and with hypnotherapy, especially with a lot of the other modalities that I use, which especially like with the realms of like Reiki, where you have no real connection to what the person is feeling until the end of the session and what they've experienced. But with hypnosis, you're going along that whole journey with them, step by step, and they're giving you the information that you need. You're asking them the questions that you need to ask them, and they give you the answers. And it's a wonderful, safe environment to be in because you're basically just in yourself. And do you think that's where a lot of people also find fear is just to look at themselves, to go inwards. That's a big thing for a lot of people, I think.
Too right, and this is a little note that I've made. So you've uh, shimmied into that very beautifully. One of the because as Jack said, one of the only reference that people have is stage hypnosis because clinical hypnosis is not very entertaining to
Mm,
watch.
yeah,
It's a bit boring, really.
yeah.
Unless you're actually within it or guiding it. And so what people have watched is that these are apparently people don't have any control, and apparently they can do things and say things and be things that you wouldn't want to do or say or be. And so what they fear is that in hypnosis they are going to blurt out all of their secrets.
Mm.
and they're not going to be able to hold them back. And of course, every single person, we all have secrets, things that we just don't want to be telling people,
Mm.
especially if there's not that level of confidence that you can get with your clients. And so what I say to them, I explain that at all times you are in control. I'm just a guide, but I often say to them, and um, don't worry, you don't have to tell me all your deep and dirty secrets. You can
Mm.
keep them, hold
Yeah.
them back.
Yeah.
And that's, most people will laugh, but I think it puts their mind at ease as well. Oh, thank God, you know.
Yeah. 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 Very true. What's
Mm.
your thoughts on that, Jack?
Oh, he's frozen. Oh,
Um,
There he is.
cool. I think my internet's not that great.
mm.
What are my thoughts on that? Might go to you, Ian, if that's okay.
Yeah. 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 Go to me. Yeah. I think like what Gordon said as well, doubling that fact up is yeah, a lot of people don't want to go inwards, and I find that a lot
Mm.
with people that want to maybe. There's also a reluctance with some people for like things like meditation because they don't want to be able to just stop. They're in that they're in that mindset that everything they do is their control, and that controlling factor is what holds them in that stasis. And then letting go of that actual conscious control, I think, is scary for a lot of people because a lot of people are
Mm.
programmed and conditioned to just be within the constraints of mind and not go any further. Oh, you can't think anything outside the box. You have to be so within the mind, and that's all there is, And for some people, that's their reality, and that's also fine. But to get across that bridge to other people that do have this fear, I think once the actual interim step is made and you actually realize, oh, actually, it's not too bad. It was just it was almost like having a little nap. I felt really refreshed afterwards, or you just feel really relaxed and you just see what you see or say what you feel and things like that. And all this stuff just comes up and you feel really, really good after it. And you are actually in control. There's nothing that takes your control away. And nothing can take your control away because you can't force someone to say something. It is totally their session, and it's a beautiful um, sort of symbiotic bioresonant stasis to be in, regardless of distance. Even if you're doing it via Zoom like this, it's still a really really beautiful deep connection between two people and two energies. And when you get that and you actually feel that resonance, like when me and Jack have practiced on each other before with hypnosis, and you actually feel like you feel comforted, you feel protected, you feel guided, you feel really tingly, and you come out of it just feeling like, oh wow, and you feel amazing. I mean, after my first session with Jack when we practiced, like that day, I was walking around with a big smile on my face. I felt really, really good, really, really happy. There was something that like been lifted and released from childhood and from inner stuff that I wasn't even aware of really. Um, but again, for a lot of people, that creates that level of fear because they've locked things away so much that they don't want to go back to it. But it's the actual going back to it that they need to do it on at some point.
Sure.
Hmm.
Mhm. Absolutely. Just adding to what you were saying about going inwards and having your reference outwards. We have a society that's been really manufactured to make everybody's awareness go
Mm,
out to
yeah.
your phone. It used to be television, and now it's a phone. And when I stopped watching TV, I looked at the stats, and the average person was watching 40 hours a week of TV, which is like a full-time job.
Mm,
Yeah, 40 hours.
yeah.
Um, I think with phones probably it's more than that now. I think we're probably running fairly high,
Oh,
especially with the younger generation, because they're not even able to walk along a street without checking the messages and stuff.
mm,
And so we've got this external all the time. It's external. So that's a big negative with hypnosis, where we say, actually, no, we want you to go inside, put your phone down,
mm,
close your eyes, and go inside. So
yeah,
that's anathema to many people now. They haven't got that, that pause that perhaps we used to have a long time ago, where we just sit and think, or just sit.
mm,
The other side of it is that, and that's something I can relate to when I first started getting into this, was that when somebody doesn't like who they are, and let's face it, when people who are coming for therapy, that's the vast majority of people. They don't like a certain part of them. And, even to the point of self-hate or self-loathing, why would you want to look inside?
mm,
Mm.
Why would you want to take a look at that when you've been running from it? It's the shadow. You've been running from the shadow. And so I think that that's another thing that we have to overcome, is that when you look inside, don't worry, you're not going to see hell. It's
mm,
not going to be a horror show. I mean, there are going to be dodgy things that we're going to have to deal with. But I think that tends to go away after the first session. Once they've had one session, they understand much more what it's about. It's like the fear's gone, and it's like, oh yeah, I know what that place is now. And
yeah,
most people, even when they just go there, they say, oh, I know this place. This is very familiar. I've been here many times before. It's
mm,
it's not something like, wow, I've never been here before. It's like, oh right, this is what he's talking about.
mm,
You know. So
yeah,
yeah, I think there's a couple of things that self-hate, I think, is a biggie. It's a challenge for us to overcome.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that first session thing, it's that really rings true for me, especially with because my most popular therapy is the Reiki,
Mhm.
and but it's always the same with that first, especially one to one when it's in person, and they've never experienced Reiki before. They don't really know what it is. Most people still don't know what it is, but they know it's very relaxing and they feel really good after it. But that first session it's always the same with their energy. It's just like you can feel there's like it's not like a block, but just with them you can just feel the mind is like constantly ticking over like what's supposed to happen now? What am I supposed to feel? What am I supposed to do? Even though you've told them to just
Mm.
lie there, close your eyes, take a few nice deep breaths in, just relax and just allow me to do the work that I need to do and then at the end of it, you can come out of it and we'll discuss what's happened, the process and what have you. But that first one, that first session is always the same. It's always like you can just feel the energy that it's just like they're not quite sure.
Sure.
Second session, totally different because they've experienced it. They know what's going to happen. They know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to start shaking sticks around the room and acting weird or do anything like that. They know the process. And yeah, and it's exactly the same for the hypnosis. And I think it's anything in life. Anything in life, there's always that element of fear until you do it. It's like a child taking its first
Mm.
steps. There's that element of fear, being like, oh, what if I fall over? And straight away from childhood, we've got that fear already ingrained into us. But I suppose when we're a child, it just bounces off us a lot easier. And
Mm.
as we grow older and get older, we hold on to a lot of that, and don't really know about it. It's usually just tucked away somewhere in the energy field.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mm.
Absolutely.
I find people criticize themselves a lot too, and like they think that they should be experiencing something they're not, or if they don't know what they're seeing or feeling or hearing
Mm,
is right, they don't know if they're like making it up, and yeah, like our heads get in the way so much. So like that first session, if you can, work past a few of them fears, which you see it happen in every session. Everyone goes into it with that, like you say, like the mind's ticking over and you can see that happening.
mm,
But then providing that safe space, and allowing them to let go just that once. And then once they learn that it's okay and what they're doing is fine, then the walls just seem to fall down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I've had that before, like one I've been working with recently, yeah, she was criticizing herself quite a lot and didn't know whether she was like doing things correctly. And you
Mm.
have to reaffirm and say like everything that happens is happening perfectly for you and is exactly how it is. So it's just about helping them, let go of that control and falling into it.
Good point, Jack. And it made me think of something. When people are going into hypnosis and never had hypnosis before, they've got no idea whether they're doing it right, wrong,
Mm.
whether it's working, whether it isn't working. And that's where our job is to come in with that's perfect, that's right, just like that, exactly, that's it.
Mm.
Well done. And and it's an important part because it then, I mean, for many reasons, it's important to say, that's right, well done, just like that, more of that. That encourages them, but also you're talking to the unconscious mind because the unconscious mind is saying, well, what do you want me to do here?
Mm.
What am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
And so that kind of positive reinforcement helps people as well. But what I've noticed is that, the first session, yeah, they're nervous and it takes them a while to calm down. But then you see, obviously, with all of the hypnotic signals that they give you, you see that they're there. But then if I've got clients that I've been working with for maybe, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, off and on. And so I'll say to them, so are you ready to go into hypnosis? And they say, yes. Okay. And but it isn't right. So that I don't need to say, right, to close your eyes now, when you're ready, or feet flat on the floor. They just go into it. But they're actually, when I look at the face becomes flaccid. They start displaying all the early signs of hypnosis just by me saying, are you ready to go into hypnosis? So
Mm.
it's like once that fear is overcome, it's the most natural place to be. And then we get hypno junkies who just want to be there all the time because it's so lovely.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm.
It is. It's an amazing place to be. It really is. From the various techniques that I've had, sort of, that I've been the guinea pig for, to try for different people, and like quantum healing and SCHH, and then obviously the type of hypnosis that we do as well. But I must admit that the hypnosis that we do and the training that I received from you, Gordon, from the course was really, it really kind of like opened your mind a little bit more to what it is, how you can use it, because also part of part of the fear as well behind hypnosis is also like as a practitioner and starting, starting your hypnosis journey, getting the practice in. Am I saying this right? Does that sound right? Is my voice okay? Are they getting too relaxed and falling asleep? Because all these different things can happen, and then we start to have the same effect, where then we start to overthink too much rather than just trusting and going with a nice flow, and then just building your practice up and learning from the mistakes. And again, that's something we do from childhood. We just learn from the mistakes and we write ourselves. And I mean, Gordon, I mean, you teach this stuff now, and you teach a lot of other stuff. But when you first started, like to practice hypnosis, what was it like for you? I mean, was it? It must have been scary to actually start doing it, like, and you probably thought a lot of the same stuff.
For sure, yeah. It's it's such a beautiful gift that at the beginning, and it's also I went into hypnosis. I thought it was all about control and getting people to do stuff,
Mm,
with
mm,
my powers. And so I was thinking, wow, this is a very, very, very strong, big skill. Am I going to manage it right? Am I going to do the right thing? What if I say the wrong thing and I make somebody uh, ill for the rest of their life? What if I give them the wrong suggestion? What if I whatever? And so at the beginning, what I did was I learned hypnosis with scripts, and I was just tied to my script.
mm,
Uh, I learned the induction. Okay, the induction, well, you can get that pretty much off pat. But then my question was, what the hell do I do when they're in hypnosis? Where do we go
Mm.
now? And so I would get, I joined a website that had like thousands of scripts. And so I paid the money and I started downloading all the scripts and I had a script for everything. And as I was reading the script, I would read the script out. Like, so not looking at my client, not paying any attention to my client, just reading the script. And after a while, I thought two things. I thought, these scripts are shit. These are really, and they're obvious. They're just obvious things, you know. From tomorrow, you will start feeling very, very good about yourself because, and I thought, that's no. So I realized that once, as long as you've got the intention uh, of what you want to do, you can't really do any harm.
Mm.
If you have the positive
Mm.
intention of, I am going to help this person. So very quickly, I got rid of the scripts, and I had a beautiful teacher who said, "Don't use scripts because eyes on the client at all times. You've got to be watching. Your client is your feedback mechanism." And so very quickly, I got rid of them and just started learning the processes. Once you understand once you understand your outcome and the steps, you don't need a script. You just do it, and you watch your client. So, but yeah, at the beginning, I was shit scared.
Mm.
Really, I was panicking and panicking about, my God, what if they don't go into hypnosis? What if it doesn't work? What if I do something bad? All the usual things I would imagine that
Mm.
everybody feels.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
What about you, Jack?
Yeah, I definitely had yeah, much the same fears really. One thing that I found so beneficial was like what Gordon said was getting rid of the scripts and just holding that intention and trusting my channel.
Mm.
And when you can get rid of the script and you can focus on the client, then you can really see what you're saying and what's making a difference and what's not.
Mm.
Whereas I feel like when you're trying to read a script and you're losing that connection, you sort of lose track of where you are to where they are. That was just in my experience anyway. So I sort of just try to go more with the flow now, and it's not so much about like what I'm saying is important, obviously, but it doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm.
You know, and if you do slip up, you know, say something that's a bit off tone or whatever, and you notice it in your client. You know,
Mm.
if that doesn't resonate with them, then the energy will change. That's the
Yeah,
way that I view it anyway. So
yeah.
then I change what I say and I'm just watching them. And then the more connection you have with them, the safer they feel. And then the deeper they go. And then the deeper you go. And then the more transformational it is. But yeah, definitely had, yeah, a lot of fears around it. Because it is obviously such a powerful, beautiful tool. And a lot of fears around like, yeah, can I handle this? And um, yeah, a lot of imposter syndrome for sure.
Mm.
Like, who
Yeah,
am I to be handling this? But yeah, like Gordon said, it's all about intention.
yeah.
Mm.
I've seen a few posts on different spiritual groups on Facebook and what have you, and one of them's really quite a nice heart-centered group where a lot of them are just full of egotistical people wanting to find whatever. But this one's a really, really heart-centered group, and I quite like a lot of stuff that people talk about on there. And there's been a lot of people that have been asking about past life regressions, wanting to go to past lives. They wanted to find out who they were in past lives, to understand why they are like they are in this life. But there's also been a few people that have had past life regressions that have said when they've come away from the past life regression that they've never been right and they feel really, really ill. And there's a lot of stuff that's gone on that's really affected their life negatively. Um, and so, what would I'm going to throw this to Gordon anyway, because,
Yeah.
um, but what would you say in that sort of circumstance? What would you think has happened? Would you say it was a practitioner, or would you say it's something that the person needs to go through to release? Because as we see with spiritual awakenings and things, life falls apart and you lose everything, and then you have to rebuild again. Is it
Sure.
that, or is it a combination? What's going on?
Oh, well, the first thought that comes to mind is that when you do a past life regression, there are some very important steps that must not be missed out. The reason is and I've done, I don't know how many past life regressions I've done, but many, many. The vast majority, I would say 95% of them are traumatic. There's trauma, there's death, there's torture, there's all kinds of stuff. Okay. Normally they have a very, very traumatic death. If they don't, they have a very traumatic life.
Mm.
That's just a given. If you allow somebody to go and have that experience and then don't do the following steps, then they're going to bring back that trauma. They're going to be traumatized.
Mm.
Right? And that, basically, if somebody hasn't felt right afterwards, it just sounds like they've got post-traumatic stress disorder. They've carried forward. So the processes in past life regression is, have the trauma, come out of that life, go to the point in between lives, look at that life, review it. What were the positive things? What did you learn from it? How was that helped you? Okay. And then to forgive that life.
Mm.
Yeah, this is ever so important to forgive the energy, forgive that life and let it go. Without those steps, maybe they're going to come back. You just say, well, there you are, shit life that, wasn't it? Right, come
Mm.
back. So that's one thing that perhaps happened, but I don't know. I don't know. The other thing is, if somebody isn't feeling right after that process, and I've never had that, by the way, I've never had somebody saying, "Oh, my life hasn't been the same."
Mm.
They say, "My life hasn't been the same, but always for positive." Like it
Yeah.
really changed my life. It changed my perspective. It changed my outlook. But if somebody is carrying forward that, then they need to have another session,
Mm.
and that needs to be addressed, whether it be in hypnosis or whether it be using other techniques like whether it be Reiki or Havening or EFT or EMI or something like that, to get rid of that trauma, whatever it is.
Mm.
So yeah, that's, to me, that sounds like the therapist hasn't finished the process properly
Mm.
and left them hanging a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
What's your thoughts, Jack?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Like, obviously, something's been stirred up and hasn't been dealt with. It'd be no different to a trauma from this life, going back to childhood, stirring it up, and then bringing them out of hypnosis and letting them go on with their day. They're going to feel terrible because you
Yeah.
haven't finished the job. So whether it's from a past life or here, I think that's all it is. I think it's just an unfinished process.
Mm. Yeah.
For sure.
Interesting. Yeah. I was like, when I'd read it and I looked at it, and I was kind of like feeling the same thing, that like something's not been finished off right. Something's not been completed.
Mm,
The process hasn't been gone through like sort of fully. Um,
mm,
because I think again with a lot of modalities, a lot of people want to learn this stuff because these days everyone wants to be a life coach, everyone wants to be a healer, everyone wants to be a guru or whatever. But are they doing it for the right reasons? Are they doing it for the
mm,
betterment of themselves first, and then to be able to help others? Or they're doing it for the label, to feed the ego? Which way they're going from? Because as well, if that happens to somebody and they don't know what's going on, and they tell other people, "Oh well, I had this," and "Oh, my life's not been the same since," again, it starts to generate that level of fear around hypnosis, because
Sure.
it's like an ongoing thing.
Mm.
And what we were talking about before as well, a little bit, we were talking about the energy between yourself and your client. And I'd mentioned where we're in this sort of symbiotic bioresonance state together, wherever we are doing the hypnosis. And we touched a little bit on the fear of the practitioner. And as well, if you're in a little bit of level of fear, they're actually aware of that, just from subconscious cues, from the way you speak, the way you hold yourself. If you're just using scripts and you're too robotic and you're not looking at what they're going through and what they're experiencing. um, and something with Jack's session, when we did one just the other week, and there was a lot of you were going through a fair bit within the body, weren't you? Like stuff that was like being released on some level. And he was moving, and I could like every now and again I could see things like moving out of his physical body through the camera. um and I was thinking, shit, like what do we do now? Where do we go from here? But it's but you kind of like have to just like you've said in some of your courses before, Gordon, where you just say inside you might be going, holy shit, like what do I do now? But on the outside you have to be, that's right, just let it go, go go with the process
Those
because
tears, every tear that falls is a part of you that's healing, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was fascinating as well, and it was really good for me because I've never really seen that, you know, in someone to experience that and go through such. I mean, when we went to the higher self with you, the change from how you were to the higher self, and the higher self was just like, bang, there's the information, you don't need any more, that's it, you know. And I'm just like, oh right,
Mm.
okay. Whereas some people's higher selves, they give pages and pages of information. You're struggling to keep up with what they need to say, and I think that's again like a higher self thing. A lot of people aren't aware of that, to try and explain
Mm.
that as well to people. So, I mean, I always try to explain it. You know, your higher self is like the highest aspect of you. It's your oldest best friend that's been with you forever and knows everything about you now and forevermore. So you can only trust your higher self. Um, but I mean, would
Mm.
you guys sort of describe the higher self any differently? How would you term it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Jack. You carry on, Jack.
I was just gonna say, like, I'd pretty well say the same thing and like keep it very vanilla because like not everybody's gonna know about the higher self concepts. Do you know what I mean? As whereas people coming from like a spiritual background, you know, obviously know all about it, but yeah, not everyone does. So I just say, just like you're saying, like it's your oldest best friend. Just imagine someone that, you know, just knows everything about you, has lived all your lives, and just holds all of your wisdom and can tell you whatever you need to know. Like it doesn't have to be anything out of the box too much. Just keep it very vanilla. That's what I would do.
Mm,
And then everyone can understand it, no matter where they're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I found, I had a very interesting experience of appearing on JCK. I don't know if you know JCK. JCK, she has a channel, and she had a channel where she was a psychic, and she during the madness of 2020, 2021, her channel just exploded
mm,
with healers, with all the spiritual people, whatever. And so she interviewed me, and I talked about past life regression, higher self work, and my inbox exploded. And so for 2 years, I was up to here with work. It was just incredible. However, most people wanted either past life regression and or higher self.
mm,
And they would come with lots and lots and lots of questions. And what I discovered was that what I had to do was help people understand that the higher self is an expert in you. It is not an expert on the universe and all things known to mankind, on alternative dimensions, on blah, blah, blah. It's just an expert on you. It knows everything about you. And so, because what I found was people would come and they would have questions like this for the higher self. Uh, will my daughter-in-law um, come back to life next year? Right, this was a question that I had. Will my daughter-in-law come back to life next year? And I said to her, I don't think I would ask that question, only because it's not your life. I mean, people came with very, very bizarre ideas at the time. There was a lot of bizarre ideas about going up to spacecrafts and all kinds. And so they had all of these sort of questions. And what I would, in the end, I had to be very strict with them and say, I only want you to ask questions about you. Don't ask questions about other people, and don't ask questions about time either. Lots of people wanted to know, when will this happen? When will that happen?
mm,
And so they would get answers. The higher self will answer. Obviously, is it the higher self, or is it the unconscious mind, or their conscious mind just adding and overlaying stuff. So, when am I going to be taken up to the spaceship? They would ask. They say, well, it's going to happen within the next 3 months. Yeah. I would have people who would say, I want a higher self session. And I would say, I'm completely booked up for the next 3 months, but in 4 months, I can give you a session. And they'd say, no, it's too late. I'll be up in the spacecraft by then. Yeah. Truly. And they would say, I don't want a session, and I used to say to them, why don't you book it? And then if you're gone, no problem, I can't charge you anyway. You won't be here. Yeah. And so that there was a lot of, I had to learn how to manage that situation. And so, that was a long way around to answer it, but the higher self is an expert on you. Ask about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Expertly put, as always. So why do you think, especially when people get into this work, get into healing, get into spirituality, why do you think people are so fascinated with alternate dimensions, otherworldly beings, other lives where they've been on different planets or different constellations? Why do you think that is? Is it something within them that's calling them to go there, or is it something that, I don't know, is it something that their soul needs to know, or is it some level of validation they need to know just to feel whole on some level? Or is it just, I don't know, is it just flannel? What is it?
What do you
Well,
reckon?
I think it's become very mainstream, and there's a lot of people like channeling lots of different things, Galactic Federation, Palladium beings, like all of these different beings, and it's become very mainstream. And whether it's real or not is up to the individual. But yeah, it's just something that has been on a lot of people's minds, especially since 2020, when everything's been turned upside down, because there's a lot of talk about being saved and what's going on, like otherworldly beings helping us here and all this sort of stuff. So people have definitely been reaching to that for a lot of answers. I just think it's something that's become quite mainstream, especially since 2020.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not. And I'm very happy to have my mind wide open and say, when people are telling me all of these things, there's a part of my mind going, holy cow, that's a bit, woo, woo, woo. But at the front end, I'm saying that, oh, that's really interesting. Wow, that's incredible. Okay.
mm,
So I can't judge. It's not my mind. It's not my business. But what I am very aware of is the power of hypnotic suggestion. The
mm,
hypnotic, and we use it all of the time, but on purpose. Because when you know a skill, you can use it on purpose, and then you can watch whether it's going to work or not. So it's very, very easy to put thoughts into people's minds. We see it. We see it in the way that society's controlled.
mm,
We're easy pickings. We really are. All that you need to do is to tell somebody congruently something. All right. I've done it in on my courses or in hypnosis. I'd say yes, because X equals Y. Okay. And then an hour later, somebody says, because what I realize in this life is that X equals Y. Or they say, oh my God, I've just had this light bulb moment. I realize that X equals Y. I know that I placed that seed.
mm.
Okay. So as you were saying, Jack, suddenly it became very vogue
Yeah.
to go up to spaceships and to be, what I discovered. I used to do these past life regressions. I've done them for, let's say, 25 years. For the first 20 years, everybody went back to a past life on this earth. Everybody. And then in the last 5 years, 50% of them go to other planets.
Mm.
or other
Mm.
beings. Yeah. What do I think? I think personally that we're in an extremely fast spiritual growth period. I think that we have a lot of influences that we didn't have before. I think we're in special times. So
Mm.
absolutely. But do I also think that they've been influenced by what was vogue and what's been talked about and what people keep saying congruently? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
So I think, there's a bit of both involved there.
Mm. It's very interesting
Yeah.
because it brings us right back to almost early on in our conversation, because the more people go into that, and some of my clients that I work with, they're very interested in Acturians and Syrians and all this sort of stuff. And I've had Akashic readings, so I'm aware of all that sort of stuff. And, it's all very interesting. Um, but it's also an element of externalizing yourself. It's taking yourself away from you. And
Mm.
it, and again, there's a lot of suggestion out there. And it's very interesting what you said as well about the past 20 years where nobody went anywhere else other than Earth, and all of a sudden, everyone wants to go somewhere else. And for some of my clients, I've tried to instill, and even for myself as well, try to instill their own power rather than giving it away to, oh, well, it's happened because in this Acturian life this happened, blah 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 blah. It's all about instilling your own power and just being present with yourself and being like in the now and not being pulled away to all these different ideas, thoughts, and realities. Because f- for what I've seen and what seems to have happened is people then start to live and become stuck in that reality of otherworldly stuff, or they become stuck in the negativity of what happened from 2020 onwards. They become locked in that
Mm.
identity, and they're just locked in the hatred and the fear and the worry and the pointing fingers at everybody and doing all that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of, again, YouTubers that I've watched, and I think we all go through this sort of path of progression where we used to watch people and then they kind of fall away because they don't resonate with you anymore. The message has just remained stale and there's no growth. Um, and and that's where I find a lot of growth now is like just being within the self, being inward, listening more to yourself and being in tune with your own being and what's right for you rather than being too much out there. But it's good to have an open mind on some level, to be open to that sort of stuff as well and just say, hey, well, if, because I mean, some of the Akashic readings I've had, that it does bring in some meaning and reason as to why certain things do happen in my life
Mm.
and why I'm the way I am. So yeah, it's just very interesting. It's just very interesting stuff. Yeah, but
Mm.
Mm.
yeah. Mm.
If I can just add,
Everyone's journeys.
sorry, Jack, your
Oh,
turn.
you're right. You're right. You can go.
No, 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 no. You carry on. I've got mine written down, so I won't forget it.
Right. What was I going to say?
I put that suggestion of the word forget. You see, that was very bad of me.
How hypnotic of you, Gordon.
Don't forget that. Yeah.
um, yeah, we definitely do externalize things. I know like a massive part of my journey has been finding on my inner journey in hypnosis or deep meditation or whatever, what I expect to find. And going back to the past lives, I've done a lot of past lives where I've been in it and I'm like, this doesn't really resonate. But what I'm getting is I'm getting a scene that's playing out, which is right for me. And it's holding the lesson that I needed to learn anyway. So yeah, that was just an interesting thing that I found on that. Um, and also I resonate with what you say about people searching for, like going back to the galactics and whatever, they're searching for something outside of themselves. And that never actually holds any answers until you do come back to you and go inside you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. So let me add some things. Yeah. What the reason I believe that people are so drawn to the galactic and all of that is because, and I've done this, um, I've asked a lot of people, especially through the channel, would you like to come back here again? And most people are saying, no way, man. I'm not coming back here. No, I'm not going to experience this again. And so there's this draw to all the places to go to are always lovely, by the way. There's not like another worldly place that's horrible. No, they're always beautiful places. And so I understand that people are drawn to that. Let's get away from this heavy 3D painful place. But rightly enough, both of you said the somebody I don't know who said it, but it was funny when I heard them say it, and they said, most people are worried, is there life after death? And the big question is there life before death? Most people are wondering what they're going to do in the next life, and they don't even know what to do on a Sunday afternoon.
Mm.
The first job that we have to do, I say to people, they come and go, I want to do, they've clearly got lots of issues. They tell me they've got lots of issues, and they say, I think that some past life regression will be the right thing. And I would say, well, first of all, if you knew how to fix your problem, you would have fixed it by now. Is that not right? Yeah. So I think you let me decide what the best thing is for your process. But I would say that is the cherry on the top. Past life regression is the cherry. It's the bit afterwards. Sort your shit out first.
Mm.
Get yourself balanced, and then enjoy all of those lovely experiences, because they're lovely experiences, they're life-changing experiences.
Mm.
I still remember the first past life regression, and it was so impactful. But the real work is here. The real work is in the 3D. The real work is, fix the body first. Fix yourself first, and
Yeah.
then enjoy all of that. And probably what happens is once you fix yourself properly, you'll have different experiences when you do your other stuff, and you go off to talk to your higher self. You'll have very, very different experiences. So yeah, I wanted to add this because I think it's so important about fear for hypnosis, and just to open it up, demons, demonic possession, and that most Christians, if they believe the Bible, know that hypnosis is linked with the devil and with demons. Yeah. So it's a very, very big deal. And especially now, because, for example, I don't know if you've known, for example, the lady I was talking about, JCK, she was a psychic and did psychic readings. Now she's converted. She's turned to Jesus. And so she's denied all of that past. And so she's saying that it's demonic. Okay. So there's also this big shift. It's toward faith rather than toward Christianity. There are some people moving toward Christianity. So that's another issue that we've got to overcome with hypnosis is it linked? Can you be, if you're in hypnosis, can a demon come and enter into you? What's your opinion?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, and I think it actually ties in quite closely to what me and Jack were talking about, because we were talking about entities and things like that the other week, and it ties in really, really well with that. And I think with regards to that, from my understanding and from my belief from where I am, and like what you said earlier, Gordon, if people deal with the shit that they need to deal with now, they deal with the trauma, they deal with the addiction, they deal with this, they deal with that, they come out of that low density way of being, then I would say the less at risk of that sort of stuff. But my other thought and understanding and belief is that a lot of it is mind made, created. A lot of it is in there. And, Jesus says, the kingdom of heaven is within you. And a lot of the Bible is actually pointing back to us to say that, we are the creators of our own reality. And if that is the case, our mind is the heaven or the hell. Our mind creates what we want it to create. If we think we're being attacked day to day by entities and demons, then we're going to bring that around. But if we think we're living a high vibration life and things flow and everything gravitates towards us when it needs to, that is what it will be. If you think that every day is shit and nothing goes right, that is what it will be. If you live from your heart space, which is what a lot of Jesus' teachings was about love, and you live on that vibrational love, and you connect to your consciousness, that is where your life will be. It will just be open, and you'll just be present to everything. And that's what a lot of teachings that the Buddha and people like that are talked about as well. Just finding that inner peace and stillness. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on it. I do, but I do have an understanding from other beliefs such as shamanism that you got the lower realms of things like that where there's all the baddies and the ghoulies and things that are down there. But again, it's another level of belief. If that's their level of belief, then that's what it is. So I think there's a very fine line without sort of stepping on anyone else's toes of what they believe and what I believe. But that's just my understanding and my belief. And I've been to some places on like ghost hunts and paranormal investigations before in the past that have deemed to be um, very, very haunted and had all these negative beings and children or alleged children and what have you. And not a lot really happened.
Hmm.
And I thought, well, if you're really that nasty and powerful and bad, then why did nothing happen?
Mhm.
So I think if you go in with your own light, your own sovereignty, your own power, your own awareness of your own power, rather than giving your power away to external things, then you are in your own strength, and we are sovereign.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, I totally agree. Like your beliefs create your reality, and everything is a mirror of you. If you're going to do any sort of inner work and you're holding a very, well, not even inner work, just life in general, if you're holding a very low vibration and you think that everything's out to get you, then that's just what you're going to see because that's what you're expecting to see. And it's no different to the good stuff, like coming from love. Like if you believe that everything's here to support you and everything's here to show you love, then that's exactly what you'll find.
Mm,
I totally resonate with everything that you're saying there, Ian, for sure.
mm,
Sure.
And we've got to be careful that we don't give our power away. If you go into any situation expecting to not have power and expecting to be overpowered by something, then again, you're creating that before you're even there.
mm,
I agree entirely. So what I'd like to add to that is that just as we had all of the galactic and Arcturians and all of that, that was very vogue. Entities became very vogue, and
yeah.
some very key, what you would call people in the truth movement started talking about demonic attacks, uh, entity attacks, and stuff like that. And suddenly, my clients then started talking about them as well.
Mm,
What a surprise! Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I've I've been doing hypnosis for 25 years, and never, ever, ever have I had a demonic attack. Never, ever. Not once. So either I'm extremely lucky or there's something else happening. There's something
Mm,
else happening. However, I have never expected to have one. In fact, it doesn't even enter into my ken that that would happen.
Mm,
Why? Because my intention is so high when I go into to work with people that there's no room for any of that, in my opinion. There's no
mm,
room. The rooms, if the room's filled with light, there's no room for any darkness.
mm,
So that's, am I denying parasites and entities? No, not at all, no. However, I think, like everything, you can call them by the name and give them power, or you can just, for example, I've had a session where somebody became, on the face of it, possessed. They. were possessed by this demonic force. I just chatted to it like, I was just chatting to it like I would chat to anybody, what do you want? What can we do? I think we need, and invoked some Jesus and invoked some light, and off it went.
Mm.
Was it real? I have no idea. But just because that's happening for me, I've got my place. I know where my place is, and they're not gonna touch us. But I think I'm concerned in the hypnosis world of people who were selling themselves specifically as somebody who can tell you whether you've got entities and then can take them away.
Mm.
And that sounds like the Hegelian dialect to me.
Mm.
Problem, reaction, solution. Oh, I can see that you have, and it's been done since the beginning of time with the faith healers. Child, you have a demon within you. Come here now, get it out. Yeah, and then I didn't realize, but now I'll behave that way. Whoa, and then off it goes. Yeah.
Mm.
So the just relying on somebody to say, I'm going to look at your energetic, your auric field. Oh yes, you're filled with entities. I can get rid of them.
Mm.
Cross my palm with silver.
Mm.
I'm concerned about that.
Yeah.
That's my concern. So it's something that I've really kept, and this is probably the first time I've talked about it openly, but I keep away from that. That's not my bag. If somebody says I'm filled with entities and can you help me to get rid of them, I say probably somebody else wants to do that work.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, again, it's that level of belief. If someone's told them that and they're like, oh my God, that fear, it ingrains that level of belief within them. And then they're like, oh, I need to go and see such and such or have such and such to have all this stuff released. And then I can get on with my life.
Yeah.
Well, hang on a minute, why are you not living now? Why are you allowing that person to take over your life and your reality by giving you the illusion that you're filled with parasites and entities? Um, just backtracking slightly, because you were talking earlier on about like the religious movement and talking about demons and all that sort of stuff and how this work is that. And where I used to work quite a few years ago, there was a chap that used to come in, and I didn't realize, but he was a Jehovah's Witness, and he was talking then about how he was suffering with high blood pressure and stress and this, that, and the other. And he wasn't in particularly good health. And I just said to him, I said, I never really talked about like Reiki or meditation or anything like that with him. But I said, have you ever thought just about like trying some meditation? Just to calm your body, calm your mind, and it'll help you overall in the long term. No, no, I can't do meditation because it brings in the darkness. It brings in the dark forces.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, right, okay. I said, well, where do you get that from? He said, oh, well, it's because I'm a Jehovah's Witness. That's what we believe. That's what we believe. Level of belief brings it back in.
Reality.
Um, yeah, exactly. And there's a Baptist church at the end of the street, and I'm trying to find a place to teach and teach Reiki and things like that because my current place has ceased trading. But anyway, I approached them about a space for either doing meditation groups or maybe some art therapy, because I like doing art as well. They said, we're really interested with the art, but we're not really keen on the meditation unless it's a Christian meditation. I thought, what the fuck's a Christian meditation? Like,
You got to mention Jesus every third word. Yeah.
so, so I was just like, okay. So I just thought, you know what? I won't bother with them. I'll just look elsewhere. So yeah, but I just thought that was just something I thought I'd mention that because again, it's that level of belief that's been ingrained into people.
Well, I was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness, so I'm fully aware of all of their beliefs, and it's all based on the Bible. I worked with a Jehovah's Witness, and I said to them, I knowing full well that they can't do hypnosis, and they said, by the way, I don't want any hypnosis, just so you know. I said, no problem at all. I said, would you be okay with a guided relaxation? And they said, oh yeah, guided relaxation, I'd be fine with it, which is hypnosis, basically. So we just did that. But again, there's there's a big issue with people who believe the Bible because there's a passage in the Bible that says, you know, people who like lists a list of things that you shouldn't do. One of them is going to people who have these powers to do all of that. So often I find it, you know, maybe saying we'll not do hypnosis, or have enough tools in your box to avoid having to use hypnosis. You can do it. You know, the bottom line is, the truth is that every process that I teach that you do within hypnosis, you can do outside of hypnosis.
Mm.
And as you do the process, you induce hypnosis without even mentioning hypnosis. All the processes are hypnotic. When you say, all right, go inside and I want you to imagine,
Yeah.
that's it. You're inducing hypnosis.
Yeah.
You don't have to say it. We do it naturally.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like at the gym where I go to. He's actually a psychotherapist, and so he's very much into the mind, but the body and everything as well. So once a week, I hold like a mindfulness meditation evening, and people come along and they enjoy the meditation. Put some incense on, some nice gentle music. I just gently guide them into the meditation, and then right now just imagine yourself, on a raft on the sea, and you're just drifting along, and you can just see it. And eventually, some of them are just like, some of them are snoring, some of them are sleeping, some of them are like just like, oh, some of them are crying, and but it's doing exactly what it needs to do. If they need to rest, they'll fall asleep. If they need to cry, they'll cry. And I think as soon as any of these sorts of like wonderful therapies that we use, from Reiki, EFT, hypnosis, meditation, the whole kit and caboodle, as soon as you start to just quieten yourself and quieten your mind and just start to tune in and listen to yourself, all the stuff that you need to do starts coming forward, and you start to be more in
Mm.
tune with yourself, and you start living authentically. You start living the life that you've always wanted to live, and you see that there is a way out. It doesn't have to be that. It can be something else. And again, sometimes with people is, I just did a social media post this morning, is the fear of taking a different path, the fear of doing something different, the fear of what will other people think. Oh, I can't go out and I can't do that because I'm going to meditate now. This is my meditation time, or it's this or it's that, or I need to do that to, So again, the level of fear can come externally from people, So yeah, there's that level of it as well that most people don't even think about. I don't think.
Mm. Mhm. True. There's something else something that you've said that's triggered just another thing on the fear. I had some therapy and now I feel worse. Okay,
Mm.
this has happened. This has happened. Okay, I had some therapy and I feel worse. What I explained to people at the beginning is, imagine the unconscious mind's job is to keep us safe at all times. And so it will lock down trauma. It'll lock it down, it'll hide it away, and it lets it out. It isn't, that means you're not aware of it. What it does, it's got this is just a metaphor, by the way. It's got all the trauma locked down, and every now and again it goes, boom. I think you should sort that out.
Mm.
Boom. I think you
Mm.
should sort that out. And you're getting these horrible, whatever, flashbacks
Waves,
or whatever,
yeah.
wave. And then it goes away.
Mm.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. So it's constantly asking us to fix it, but it will keep it hidden away. So then you come to the point where you go, I'm gonna have to get this shit sorted out. And you go and find a therapist. And then there's this good rapport that you've got with the therapist. In the first session, the unconscious mind's like this, saying, can I trust this person? Is this person going to fix? Is this person going to be able to fix these problems? If at the end of the session, the unconscious mind thinks, yeah, definitely, it starts unpacking the
Mm.
box and going, right, let's have these out then.
Yeah.
Um, because he can help. So what I take that as a very positive thing when somebody says, I've had a session, now I feel bad.
Mm.
I say, that's fine. We need to keep going.
Mm.
Now it's all been unpacked. It's like it's opening Pandora's box, basically. So it's not a negative sign. It just means, hey, we haven't finished. We've probably just started,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've had that with well, most clients in the past, to be fair, where they've had um, an in-person Reiki session or a distance Reiki session. Then after a day or two, they start like they'll message and they're like, "Oh, I don't feel right. I feel really, I feel like my energy's all mixed up, and I'm not really, I don't really know what's going on." I said, "Right, that's good. That's a good sign. It's a good sign that we've actually started the movement of your energy. We've stirred things up a little bit." Yeah. I said, "Right, come back." I said, "Just give it a couple of days. Come back. We'll do a meditation, and let's meditate on it. Give me the information that you've got to give me. I'll design a meditation and we'll work through it step by step and we'll create a package for that. And then give it a few days after that to see how we feel and we'll go from there and see what's what." And that's how I do it. And I like to give them just a few days, just leeway, just to see, because all that stuff needs to come up and then be integrated. And that can take, well, it takes as long as it takes really, but usually for a lot of my clients it's maybe a week or two.
Yeah.
And then they'll come back like, "Oh, I feel settled now. Right, okay, I think I'm ready to go again." So yeah, and it is a process, and maybe that's something people are scared of as well, of going down that process.
Sure.
Mm, yeah. Anything to add to that, Jack?
Yeah, I just find it interesting how it does unpack, and it's all because the subconscious knows how to heal, and like we know how to be healthy, like that's our natural state of being. And I just find it so interesting how when you do like open that up and you start working on something, how the layers just naturally unfold. And it's like,
Mm,
oh, all of a sudden I've been thinking of this memory or whatever, and then that triggers something, and then you work on that, and it's like this next thing pops up, and and I think it's just I just find it, yeah, really interesting how natural the process is,
mm,
and how, yeah, the subconscious just really gives you what you need. And if you're in a state where you can handle a lot of things, you might get a lot at once. But if you're in a state where you can only deal with so much at that point in time, then you might only get drips and drabs. And it's yeah, not something that you can really um like say when there's going to be an end. But it's, yeah, I just find it very, very interesting, and it's all divinely timed, in my opinion.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. But yeah, I mean, we've been chatting for over an hour, believe it or not. So I'd like to thank you both for joining me today on this discussion about hypnosis and fears behind discussion. We'll have a quick chat off cam afterwards. But thank you, Gordon. If you can send me all your details, I'll link everything below in the descriptions box on my channel, or head over to Gordon's channel, where you can see this video there as well, and all our details there as well. So until then, and Jack, you're in the process of starting a YouTube channel eventually, I think, but
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Go for it, Jack. Go for it.
just do it, as Nike says. Yeah. Right. Thanks, guys.
And thanks a lot, Ian, for organizing
Thank
this and
you.
having the idea. I've
Oh,
enjoyed it.
you're welcome. Yeah, and keep your eyes
Yeah,
peeled
it's
because
been
hopefully
great.
we're going to do a few more of these in the future.
Okay, cool.
Sounds good.